Hey, it's Joseph. On this episode, my audio is a little bit off. That's my fault. I made a mistake about what was feeding my audio line. Point is, I have been punished with 3 months in Juggalo prison, and I promise it won't happen again. But don't worry, you'll be able to hear me in this episode.
Welcome to the Please, a hateful voyage to the Delta Quadrant. My name is Joseph.
I'm your co-host, Peter.
This is so weird. So Peter and I are trying something a little different. We are simulcasting ourselves via Google Hangouts so that we can get better timing with each other. So I can see when he's going to talk and I'm going to talk, and now I'm seeing his dark and spoopy man cave right now with no lighting in the background. It's neat. You got a good vibe there in your zone, Peter. I see all the kid toys in the background.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's Children's Palace behind me. Oh, Joe.
I felt like I needed to talk about something other than Star Trek with you for a second, because Season 4 has been unkind. And it did not get better with this episode. And I want to apologize to you. Because I told you, the season's uneven, but it's mostly good. And I stand firm that it does get better, and there are great episodes to come. But I underestimated how much of this was garbage.
Boy, howdy, Joe. It is a rough season. I'm trying to think back the good stuff, and we had Year of Hell, and there was some Kess stuff, and I think there was the Seska holodeck episode.
That was in a prior season.
Was it?
That was season 3. Yeah.
Was it really that far ago? Because we're into season 4, episode 13 now, and there's a lot of stuff. I just sit there and scratch my head. I'm like, what the hell was this episode about? Oh, ooh. That's
I gotta see this one, which is titled "Waking Moments," is far and away more enjoyable than having watched Concerning Flight, because that one's on my mind because we just put that episode out.
Yeah.
And I liked the one we did just most recently, Mortal Coil. Obviously, you were not as high on it as I was, but
yeah.
But it was a good Neelix focused episode. But Concerning Flight was bad and unenjoyably bad and physically difficult to watch, whereas this was fun to watch and it was fucking terrible. So it's very visual pleasing, I suppose is the right way to put it.
I went to bed super early last night, 9:30, because I've been working my ass off. I woke up at 6:45 this morning, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to watch the episode this morning since I didn't get the chance to see it last night. And it was weird seeing Star Trek that early in the morning, and I was concerned that I wasn't going to be able to stick with it, but I don't think it was that bad of an episode. And certainly listening to Concerning Flight in the car ride over reminded me how bad Voyager can really get. So I was like, maybe Waking Moments was better than I was willing to give it credit for. And I think we need to talk about it. I need to explore some feelings and flesh some stuff out with you here.
Speaking of things that are fleshed out, see, that was actually a good intro there. Is that we start this episode with a series of vignettes that I think are very clearly supposed to be dream sequences. Essentially straight away, that they're a different heightened kind of reality type of situation.
I mean, they try to fool you in the beginning because they all start off reasonably enough. I did my freeze frame that I normally do. I don't think we've ever given Voyager credit for having really nice hallways.
But what? What?
The hallways. They put a lot of detail work, I think, into the hallways. I think Voyager as a show is very proud of its hallways. It's got some long hallway sets, and I was rewatching TNG, and I don't think any of the other series really have hallways even half as nice as Voyager, which might be why we get so many walk and talk scenes in them. They probably cost a lot of money.
Listen, nothing can touch Cardassian hallway.
Well,
I think
here it's a Voyager set piece, man. There you go, man. We haven't had Voyager.
We haven't had a Cardassian hallway call out in probably a year. But remember, we found out that was actually a reuse from like one of the movies,
motion picture or something like that.
I think motion
or
picture.
Undiscovered Country. I think it was.
Yeah, Star Trek V. It was like the hallways that like were the Enterprise A. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we're in this dream sequence, and we get around to Tuvok, and the bridge calls him instantly. I'm struck by two things. One, Tuvok is a very light sleeper if he's able to wake up on the first time someone rings, which makes me wonder if Vulcans are the space elves we've been led to believe, where they don't really sleep, they just meditate. And two, when he pulls the covers down and we see like his bare chest, I'm like, damn, Tuvok sleeps naked. I guess that's one thing we have in common.
One thing that we do not have in common with Tim Russ circa 1998 is that he was hitting the gym.
Yeah.
That man, he had a swimmer body. Like he was doing a lot of laps.
Well, what happened was, you see, after Tuvok got his ass beat by two JCPenney employees back in the Grinder episode, he had to double down on his gym routines and brush up on his Vulcan jujitsu or whatever we're supposed to believe he's a master of. I still can't believe that fucking episode. Everything we're supposed to know about Tuvok is what a badass he is in a fight. He's an archer. He knows, Vulcan karate and Krav Maga or whatever. And then, yeah, some horny dudes just beat the shit out of him and take him down. Like, sad. But no, yeah, he's jacked, man. You've got his little scene where he essentially goes to the bridge, and as he's walking through the corridors, everybody's kind of like looking at his dong, smiling because he's having.
Did you read the memory alpha for that bit? Apparently, he had the props department make him a comically large dong to wear as part of that sequence. So imagine, if you will, the idea that Tim Russ is shooting these scenes where Tuvok is naked walking around the ship, and IRL, he is like a giant prosthetic penis flopping around.
It's like a tall boy.
I just love, like, these guys are as shitlordy as you could imagine when it comes to like playing pranks on their coworkers and that sort of thing.
You have to be.
So he's like, yeah, so you're like, well, I'm going to have to shoot these scenes. I'm going to be like, mostly naked and all this other stuff. So I'm going to take advantage of the situation. I'm going to have the props guys make me a turbo dick. And I'm going to wear that shit around and, flop it around at people, do helicopter dick at people. It'll be great.
Sure. That sounds like a good day at work. So he's having his Tuvok goes to work naked dream. Janeway has a dream where she walks into the mess hall. And at first I thought it was going to be like Neelix is actually a creepy serial killer and has been murdering the crew and cannibalizing them. But
that'd be too cool for this show.
Way too cool. And Neelix is wearing like this little clown outfit. It's a bunch of pastel colors. Like, it's one of the uglier outfits we've seen him in a while. But no, the crew is all dead and covered in cobwebs and, decrepit, looking like they took a trip to Space Cougar Planet, where Harry Kim's energy vampires drain people. Moral of the story there is that that's her fear. She took too long and didn't get anybody home.
Tom's crashing a shuttle and is going to just, die in a death trap like so many others before him. And then, of course, the
real nightmare.
The piece de resistance of the dream sequence is Harry Kim gets invited into a Jeffrey's tube to make out with 7 of 9, which that had to be Garrett Wang's like favorite day going to work his entire fucking life.
To be fair, that would have been my favorite day of work too. We give these.
Could you imagine looking at, like, get the script, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get the script for the episode. You're Garrett Wang. You open it up and you see, like, I'm going to get a whole fucking day where I get to make out with Jerry Ryan
in a skin-tight cat suit. Like, wow, I've been complete and utter trash this entire season because I was supposed to die last season and I only got preserved for God knows what reason. Maybe it's because Jennifer Lean wouldn't date Sovek, or what was his name? Ensign Vorik.
Vorik, yeah.
Jerry Ryan's Jerry Taylor's nephew.
Son, yes. No,
Oh, was it son? Ooh, even worse.
Yeah.
But you know what? Season 4, episode 13, one of the weaker points of the season, I get to just grind up on Jerry Ryan, like A+. Great season, best season ever. I didn't think I would be able to care any less about a romance other than Tom Paris and B'Elanna until I remembered back to the Tom Paris, Kes, Neelix love triangle, which was super fucking terrible. And every time I saw it, I was like, God, can this be over already? That, of course, has been dethroned by this fucking Harry Kim 7 thing. Just stop. It is so cringy every time I have to see, like, good for Garrett Wang that he got to get up on that. You know, high five. I'm happy for you as an actor, I guess, but I'm tired of fucking seeing this. And when I sit there and I see that we left Kes and her engaging, thoughtful, appropriate, good stories left in the fucking dust, and all we have is leftover Harry Kim, and this is all he's really brought to the season, is this goofy romantic foil for 7 that nobody asked for and nobody wants.
It's only there so they can have Jerry Ryan do sexually provocative things for ratings. That's the unfortunate truth.
Here's the love triangle.
It's obvious.
Yeah, but here's a love triangle I want. Okay, here's a love triangle I'd care about. Tom finally gets B'Elanna. He thinks he's happy, and then hot ass 7 pops up, and she starts trying to home wreck, and that's where you're getting the hostility between B'Elanna and 7 from. And Tom's got to make a decision. Do I go after the new hot blonde, or do I really try to clean up my game and become a better person?
That would create actual character development, would actually tell more of the story that you want to tell with these characters, evolving and maturing and that sort of thing. I completely agree. This is just, we want to have Jerry Ryan, when her skin tight suit, make out, tell a character to take off their clothes, constantly close talk, and try and build this pseudo sexual tension that we hope will entertain and titillate the demo that we're going for to watch the show. That's it. That's entirely what it's here for, which is why this just kind of eventually just goes away.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the focus on Harry Kim. Again, it was the guys in People versus Star Trek Voyager that first proposed it, but I do think that they were right when they said that it feels like Harry Kim was supposed to be another Wesley Crusher, and that you should have some 17 or 18-year-old wet behind the ears ensign playing this and not a full-grown adult man who's just like a man-child.
I think you're right. That seems correct.
Anyways, so there's all these dreams going on, and at the conclusion of all these dreams, once they take a hard twist, Janeway seeing the crew dead, the shuttlecraft starting to descend onto the planet with Tom driving it.
7 of 9 suddenly taking actual sexual interest in Harry Kim. Truly the most unbelievable hard twist of them all. What happens is that a alien creature comically appears in screen, right? Like, an alien creature is in the turbo lift with Tuvok while he's naked. The 7 of 9 turns into one of the aliens. A alien just kind of creeps up on the nose of the shuttlecraft and like looks in at Tom. Like,
that was my favorite.
You.
I thought it was like a big giant ass, like super Star Destroyer sized man that he was driving towards that suddenly walked in front of the sun. These aliens, they look like they're yellow, and they've got like this crescent face, like a moon kind of. And I don't know what it is about like the prosthetic teeth they've put in these guys, but the way they hold their head and the way they look, it looks like Napoleon Dynamite to me. Did you get that vibe at all? They just got this like,
no.
They just got this like chin tuck, like, ooh. I'll post some pictures. I think
I get what you're saying. I do get it now that you say it, but it is not what I initially thought. They bear a passing resemblance to some of the other kind of weird, alien races we've seen. I didn't really connect them with anything specific. I will say that the idea behind this race is just stupid. Usually I'm the guy who's like, oh, that was a cool idea, but they just kind of fucked it up, right? Like, I think I've said that of our 81 episodes probably 64 times at this point. I'm willing to like, oh, cool idea, bad execution. Like, I'll give like a tiny bit. Yay, here's your C-. Go fuck yourself. But these guys, this idea is fucking dumb. They're a race that exists only in dreams, and in the real world, they're sleeping. And it's like, what?
Like,
What?
well, we're starting to jump ahead here a bit, but if they were a race that existed only in a parallel dimension, and for whatever reason in this region of space, subspace is thin or whatever, so yes, people in the dream state cross in and it damages. Remember the Next Gen episode where
the speed limit? Yeah, no, I get that.
Fucking
that
awesome
would be cool.
Episode. And like this part of space, it's goofy and dreamers destroy their area, and that's why they're pissed off. But yeah, the fact that they do have a real form and they're just dudes sleeping on a planet and fucking with people, I'll let my claws out on that when we get deeper in the episode. The big takeaway for me in this beginning sequence is I like seeing people's personal quarters. I always think it's interesting who's important enough that they have a room that has like exterior windows and who are the scrubs that have to live in the windowless areas. And I have to question Tuvok's choice of putting his bed right up underneath the windows. That seems real dangerous and at the very least very inconvenient when you're like a system with a bright sun and the ship's facing that direction. I don't see any Venetian blinds on those windows, Joe.
Well, you gotta expect they've got auto dimmers. I mean,
I've never seen it. I have never seen these dimmers.
You've never seen a bathroom. Don't be that guy.
No, we have seen bathrooms. Those beautiful sinks that pop out of the wall.
I'm sorry. You've never seen a toilet. Don't be that guy. Never seen a toilet in Star Trek. It's a whole meme. Never, ever.
You're wrong, because when Neelix initially came on the ship, he replicated all that food, and then he was in the bathroom floating around in that big body of water. And as he's a big piece of shit, I'm going to have to assume that was actually the toilet.
All right. Well, point is, everybody wakes up. Everyone has a little moment with all the other characters where they put together that everybody had a freaky dream with the weird alien in it, right? It takes an inordinate long amount of time for them to come around to it, but eventually, like, they all get to the bridge to, like, start their day. And they're like, I had a weird dream. Had this weird alien in it. Oh, I did too. Chakotay, like, talks about how he was, like, went deer hunting.
And I stopped and I said, thank you, God, for not making me watch this dream with Chakotay's fucking dad. What a merciful episode that we were not subjected to the one thing that I wanted the very least. We also see the triumphant appearance of B'Elanna's hide the fact I'm Prego lab coat.
Yeah. Here it is, and get used to it. She wears it the rest of the season. And, it's got, like, little pocket protector. Mm-hmm. So, like,
her space screwdrivers.
Yeah. I mean, they try. I mean,
I buy it. Look, man, it's better than her always hiding behind a banister, which has kind of been what's happened up to this point.
And it was funny as I saw Roxanne Dawson's got an active Twitter presence.
Does she?
She's still, yeah, and she's still she does a lot of TV direction. That's like what she does. And she, her daughter's now 21. So, this is her daughter that we're seeing. Yeah. Wow.
Joe, you should invite her to watch our podcast.
I have like added her a few times, but I doubt I'll ever get her attention. But that's okay.
Let's go after her daughter then. Mom, these guys are talking mad shit about you. You got to get on here and fight them on Twitter.
So, actually, we're really nice to Roxanne Dawson because her acting, when she turns her acting on, when she has like her solo episodes, we're always like, Roxanne Dawson is good in this.
Yeah.
The rest of the episode has problems. The problem is not her. She's maximum effort.
Joe, you can't walk our nasty words back, all right? She's going to see the back episodes. She'll know.
Okay. Fair. So
how many times have we had a situation where the crew has fallen victim to dream games? Because I feel like it's not, to the point of like someone's caught in the clink or a shuttlecraft accident. But I think we've had a couple of these now where they get fucked with in their dreams.
Just one. Just that one where Kes had to like psychically assault the just random fuckboy alien that was just
The Demi-Q?
like locking. Yeah, the Demi-Q that was like locking them in, like these wish fulfillment dream states. And just because it could.
Balana's sexy time dream with Chakotay.
That is correct.
I like that.
It was a lot of sexy time dreams in that one. But yeah, that was the one where Cass basically just had to like psychic assault it and use her Super Saiyan powers for the first time.
Maybe
that's the only time they've been fucked with in like quote unquote dreams.
I'll have to go back and consult my notes, but I feel like it.
Oh, I guess Balana. Yeah, Balana specifically had the "Remember Me" with Senator Kelly.
Yes,
where she was having sexy dreams.
Yeah,
man, a lot of times there's sex in these dreams. Man, there's sex in the dreams here too. Wow, Voyager, they're very horny there.
That's because it's the best way to have your characters hook up. But it was all a dream, and we don't have any baggage.
What we do have though is that Harry Kim is not woken up. And eventually they go to his quarters to see like Janeway and Tuvok themselves. We find that he is not sleeping with a mask, which apparently he is.
Yeah.
That's character development.
Yeah.
Well, how about that?
I would say that's a continuity issue, not character development.
And then flat as a board, though. So that part is true.
Yes. We did have one scene before this, and I want to give credit where credit's due. Because B'Elanna, who had been working third shift, gets off. She's knocking on Paris's door. And she's pissed that he stood her up for breakfast. I think this was probably the best scene in the episode. And normally I can't stand... I mean, we already shit on it once this episode. I can't stand the Tom Paris B'Elanna stuff. But I think in very small, concentrated bursts, they can have good chemistry. As long as it's not the primary focus of an episode. Because also Year of Hell, where he was overly concerned about her and like kind of neglecting his duties on Earth. It works. I did notice, though, that he was really pushing he wanted to do their date night going skiing somewhere. And if you'll remember back to the Sad Sack episode, that Klingons hate the cold, like, what a dick move, man. You know that your girlfriend is racially predisposed to, like, hating the cold, and you're like, let's go. No, Tom, how about you go swim in fucking lava and see how you like it? Like, not cool, dude. You're being a dick.
I think the mode that you're talking about with him that makes them tolerable is when they have like real moments.
Yeah.
Like, oh hey, you and I have both been through as in our relationships of one person is working a different shift than the other, and you don't see them very often.
That's where I'm at with my wife right now. Maybe that's why that spoke to me so much. We have
like I know that Casey works odd hours. I know Stevie works different hours than I do. Like. And sometimes, like today, for example, she's right now working, and I'm here, and I probably only saw her for like an hour today.
It's hard.
And so, like, yeah, it is. And so you see that on TV reflecting these characters, and you're like, I identify with that. And then you identify with the scene. And I think too often they don't bring it down to something you can identify with, and it just becomes kind of ugh.
Like, it's like, I don't get to see a lot. We're going to do something. We're going to pick a date night. Tom's like, let's go skiing. I know you hate the cold. I tell my wife, let's watch Voyager because I know she hates Star Trek. You relate to things.
Stevie watched this one with me. She did not abscond with the dog.
I'm sorry to hear about that, Joe.
Oh, well, no, she was there for me. As moral support.
I'm sorry to hear that Stevie had to sit through this. So, they find out that there is this alien presence in everybody's dream. Nobody has any good stories. They're all nightmares. And then they don't really start taking it serious until they find, like you said, Harry hasn't woken up yet. And apparently he's not the only member of the crew who has now been trapped in a dream coma.
Yeah, the doctor specifies, like, no, they're not in a coma. They're asleep. And for whatever reason, medical science that should wake them up doesn't.
At this stage in the episode, because later in the episode, that medical science wakes people up just fine.
The part to me that is just hilarious is that they have a confab to discuss what's going on here. So they're not at the conference table. They're just kind of like gathered around a view screen talking about it. And immediately, Chakotay's like, well, looks like we got a real pickle here. These are clearly dream aliens, so we have to use my mystical dream warrior powers.
And that's where I hit the wall. I said,
that is our only option, is to revert to my mystical dream warrior powers. And it's like, what? Whoa, 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 whoa. Bro, we just figured out there's possibly some aliens. Maybe they're trying to contact us. Some of our people can't wake up. It's a little weird. And we are just scratching the surface of what's going on. And you're here with your hibbity-jibbity saying that you want to take a whole bunch of Indian dick drugs so that you can, like, go be Freddy Krueger. What the fuck is wrong with you? What is this? But now everyone's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's cool.
I just thanked the powers that be for not subjecting me to a Chakotay dream sequence with his dad. And then I realized, Chakotay got cheated out of a dream because he's going to be in a dream the whole rest of this episode as like the primary focus. And whereas in Mortal Coil, I praised Chakotay as kind of like the MVP, like he's got this spirituality, he's got vision quests, he's got all this other stuff we established in season 1, season 2. It dropped out in season 3, and then season 4 they brought it back in, and it's like, okay, continuity, cool. He's not the focus. He's helping Neelix with it. He works as kind of a spirit guide, but this is almost like it is back to back because Mortal Coil was our last one, right? So that's 2 episodes in a row where he's breaking out the hand vibrator drugs. And
it's the exact opposite of what he was last time, which is last time it was realistic where he was, trying to help Neelix help himself, that his mysticism was not in itself an answer, but just a way for you to access your subconscious to maybe find answers within. Like, it was his religious beliefs were treated with a level of respect and realism. And it wasn't some weird, like, aliens from New Jersey who secretly visited Earth and the rubber tree people. It wasn't like some stupid ass bullshit, fake Indian bullshit flute. It was cool because you kind of bought what happened. And then they go to this episode where literally he has special dream warrior powers.
They're like, Chakotay, I don't know about this. He's like, no, it's cool. I just watched oh damn it. And what was the fucking Leo DiCaprio movie with the horn?
Oh, Inception?
Inception.
Oh, yeah.
It's like I watched Inception. Yeah. I got this, guys. I'm going to go Inception on this. And they're like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. Let's, we'll put you under and off you'll go. Before we go deeper, there was another detail that really stood out to me in all this. When Janeway and Chakotay initially go to like track down Harry Kim, did you notice Janeway actually like physically knock on the door to get into Harry's room?
Yeah, I mean, seemed like it was a courtesy, hey, if you're actually awake, now's the time to open the door before
this is the most security I've ever seen in the ship. And we're going to talk about Harry Kim's sexual deviancy. Okay. I have never seen crew quarters locked to the point where they hit the code to the button, it doesn't work, and Tuvok actually has to initiate a security override to get in there. We have never, ever, to the point where we laugh about it, the doors just aren't locked on the ship. Harry's personal quarters are locked while he is in there, which, what is he doing that justifies a door being locked? Like, how much of a mess is he making in there with himself? Or, we don't live in the post-scarcity society anymore. Like, has this evil Maquis influence on the ship really escalated out of control? Is there like petty theft now and people going and like stealing each other's TVs or space rocks or whatever they have in there? I think that'd be a good episode, just like a petty theft problem on Voyager that Detective Tuvok has to crack. That'd be a Detective Tuvok story I'd be interested in.
I just think that Harry doesn't want anyone necessarily to walk in while he's furiously masturbating, but I just think that if Detective Tuvok went in there with the black light, it would be a war crime.
God, I hope that's blood.
Like Chakotay Dream Warrior, gives himself like a dream safe word of seeing Earth's moon to know that he's dreaming. It's some real made up bullshit.
So let's talk about that for a second. He identifies that this is all a product of lucid dreaming, that he is able to bring himself under, that he can guide his own dreams, and that he has built in this device in his lucid dreaming where he can tap the back of his hand 3 times, and this will trigger and pull him out of the dream. I don't remember him ever mentioning anything to Janeway about the moon.
I don't think that he... No, he did. He said it to somebody. He definitely said it to somebody. I don't know if he said it in that scene or he said it in sickbay more generally, but he definitely spoke aloud that, yes, I will use a visual cue of the Earth's moon as my dream safe word to know I'm in command of the dream.
That stinks because I thought that it was like a legit manifestation of his faith that like somehow the moon had appeared in a position where it didn't belong and guided him to safety. That if he called it out specially as a intended mechanic of this lucid dream adventure he's in, then that makes it lame. I thought there was like some legit faith going on there, so whatever. But
nah, he said that specifically. This show can never be that clever. Come on.
That's a disappointment because I thought that was the only clever thing that they did here. The doctor expresses his concerns about this. Janeway and Chakotay tell him to fuck off. And they put him under. And we get Chakotay roaming the halls of Voyager with a spear in hand, and he is tracking down a deer. And he mentioned earlier that his dad, the dream he had was with his dad who was hunting a deer. And so this is kind of that dream picking back up. He ends up in the mess hall. We see the moon out the window. The deer runs out into the hallway, and then it has this like terrible mid-90s morphing effect where the deer turns into this Napoleon Dynamite alien and then goes to put hands on Chakotay.
The fucking morphing effect is the classic. It's a very classic visual effect that Trek basically has been using for 10 years at this point. Like when you think about like the effect of the Founders from DS9, it's very similar. Whenever they have these gooey alien types, they've been using this same fucking effect. I don't know if they just bought that shit from ILM on some kind of fucking discount rates.
It's
and they're
elite.
just like
we bought 100 uses. We were only able to get through 60 on DS9. We got to get our money's worth. So yeah, have the deer turn into Napoleon Dynamite. It'll be great.
And the alien's like, oh, you're dreaming, and it's this very stereotypical like, oh yes, I am Chakotay the Dream Warrior. I'm aware of your world, but he also attempts to reason with them,
which fits the diplomat role that Chakotay likes to fancy himself in.
Does not join them. He does not co-opt. This is a rare non-co-opt episode.
As a matter of fact, we'll get into it later. I found Chakotay to be exceptionally hostile in this episode, whereas normally he's a big pacifist. Like at the end, he's willing to basically commit genocide, which struck me odd. While he is asleep, the doctor makes a suggestion that they start distributing cocaine to the rest of the crew so everybody gets supercharged and nobody else nods off and becomes susceptible to this this coma effect that has plagued Harry and a couple of the other guys. How did you feel about Chakotay being the choice to go in here? I thought that for some reason Tuvok, given his guided meditation and everything else, would have felt like a better fit for this little adventure, especially with his psychic abilities.
Yeah, he has psychic abilities. He's probably like the logical mind is able to separate itself from the actions of its subconscious. You think that, and I think not necessarily like Chakotay is a bad choice. It's just that the setup is that he just volunteers that he's a dream warrior and therefore he should get to do this cool thing.
Yeah.
Rather than them maybe finding out like, researching what the hell they could do to fight against these things, then discovering like this technique. And then Chakotay is like, oh, well, this was something that my like ancestors did. So this might be something I'm suited to do. I'll use, like my alien dick drugs, and that's going to help me like get into the state to do that. And so like that he's more reluctant / novice like, instead of like, I am ready to confront these aliens on their turf with my secret powers.
So he's in the dream. He's hunting this deer. It turns into Napoleon Dynamite. Diplomat. I don't know if the alien charges him first or if he actually tries to throw a spear at this dude or what. But Napoleon Dynamite comes up, puts hands on Chakotay, starts strangling him, and eventually Chakotay like mounts him from behind. And we have yet another alien race that can't spill the beans quick enough. And we've talked about this the past several episodes. I finally made my Hall of Fame of the quickest confessors of all time, because as soon as he gets the upper hand in this fight, the guy's like, well, we're dream people, but we're really weak in real life, and you guys always fuck us up, so we're going to hold you all in dreams and kill you all, and fuck you. And I'm like, whoa, dude, way to spill the beans early on. So in my little Hall of Fame...
and the fact that, as we'll discover later, there was no reason for him to admit all of these things
at all,
because of like the double deep game they end up playing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you could have just lied, bro. Like, you didn't actually have to tell them the truth that you guys are all like a bunch of weaklings in IRL. Like, left that part out.
And also to that fact, like, Chakotay twists his arm behind his back. But if those guys are in control of the dreams, that wouldn't have actually hurt that guy, right? So it's not like he was under real physical duress. He just spilled the beans for no goddamn reason at all. So let me give you the Hall of Fame of the biggest snitch, okay?
Okay.
First of all, I'm going to give an honorable mention to Crewman Jonas, whose menacing grimace while brandishing plasma torches over Neelix's shoulders was a clear admission to the viewer that he was a dirty bad boy, but he never actually made an in-character admission to anybody. So we've got Lon Suter, who rolled over on himself to Detective Tuvok at the drop of a hat.
But he did it so that he could brag. So, you know, our boy
Fair
Lon
enough.
gets a little bit of a pass.
Fair enough. We had the shoot terrorist children who quickly acknowledged himself as part of the rebel terrorists that wanted to like dirty bomb everybody on the surface. And we're happy to, you know, let Harry and Paris pay for their little thing. And then, of course, we've got the Random Thoughts grinder merchant who went right to the chief of security for the ship whose crew member was in prison because of his little black market vile thoughts thing and said, oh yeah, we have a thriving black market for like strangle porn.
The admitted chief security officer. Like,
yeah,
that was how he introduced himself. I'm like, I'm the chief security officer on Voyager. I am the cop of the space people.
But right up there, we're putting Napoleon Dynamite. Like, yeah, we catch people in their dreams and fuck them up, but stay away from our planet because you could beat us up real bad. Chakotay, after hearing about this, starts what's going to become a pattern of threats through this thing. Like, I got the upper hand here. I'm a dream warrior. You're going to tell me what I want to know because I got control here. And if you don't give me what I want, you're not going to like what happens. I was like, whoa, what Chakotay is this? Like, this is not Mr. Pacifist. This is not the guy who tries to leave every hostile situation on his back, slithering away while peeing himself.
And where was this guy when he was on Predator Planet? You know, like schooling up like the new kid. You know, instead he's like, oh, you should just try and extend a hand of friendship to the people who are raping your moms and shit. And apparently he only shows up when he's a dream warrior.
So he bullies this guy, and this guy's like, you know what? Well, why don't you just get out of our space? And if you leave, then we'll leave you alone. And you got to go to a system that has 6 planets, and that's the border of our space. You get past that, and you're okay. And Chakotay's like, fine, bitch. See you later. Taps his wrist. He pops out, tells the captain. They lay in a course, and they speed out of there. In my opinion, we should have just called the episode off there or switched into the B storyline. Like, this seems like a realistic and good Starfleet encounter, right? Some goofy, kooky shit, a little bit of diplomacy. The understanding gets hammered out. And, wow, that was weird. Let's get that in the log. We're done. Had it not been for the fact I looked at the jogger at the bottom of Netflix and saw that we were at the 15-minute mark, I would have said this is a pretty complete episode. We saw some funny, dreams or whatever, and that's it. Story over. I'm good with this. Give me some Borg talk or something. But no, the writers have predictably more bad news in store for Voyager. They get to the planet that they agreed to go to, which again they thought was the border of the space. And immediately ships start uncloaking or whatever and attacking Voyager, and Voyager starts getting its ass wrecked. Again, we've seen situations like this before where key systems start going down, the enemy has an impossible upper hand, and it doesn't dawn on anybody that like unrealistic things are happening. Maybe someone's fucking with us psychically.
It's worth pointing out that like they get there, Harry wakes up, they have like all these awkward like Jim Halpert turn to camera moments where they're talking about their dreams. You know, like Janeway's in the turbo lift talking to Tuvok about what his dream was, and he like it basically explains in reverse what happens, saying he was naked. She's kind of like, you know,
I did like
has that awkward comedy beat.
I did like B'Elanna when Harry comes back down to the mess hall, and you know he had just been embarrassed because he was going to tell the doctor, "Oh, in my dream, you know, I was humping 7 of 9," but she walks through the door and scares him away or whatever. While they're down in the mess hall, when he walks in, B'Elanna's like, "Oh, if it isn't Sleeping Beauty." And I had to wonder if that was an actual rib at Garrett Wang, because he had just been voted for Time's 50 most beautiful people, which is what they accredit his character to surviving for. And I'm like, that's clever, if that's what that was.
I do like that it bleeds into the fact that those characters have had a long-standing sort of like brother-sister type of relationship,
Sure,
kind of
yeah.
giving each other shit. And
which I'd like to see more of, honestly.
Yeah, same. Like, this is the sort of thing that you kind of, we talked about earlier with the Tom and B'Elanna stuff. Like, when it feels real and it feels like it's an extension of, like, the development as characters, it's cool.
I think I would have actually preferred to see B'Elanna end up with Harry over Tom. I think that would have been a more interesting dynamic.
I don't think it would have been. I think that Tom, like, if you're just judging it based on the characters, like, Tom Paris evolving from loner bad boy who don't give no fucks about nothing, and you know is basically a career fuck up, turns into a spouse and family man who cares about like the crew and his place and his career, and all of that is very cool, very neat. I like that arc. It feels like if you'd put her with Harry instead, like, I guess I'm biased against it because we don't know it. Like, Harry's so underdeveloped for the whole run of the show. I'm like, what would that be like? I don't fucking know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think it would have been a chance for him to grow with an assertive woman who has shared interests. But let's jump back into this boring ass episode. They start getting jumped when they reach the destination, which should have been the end of the border. Things are not going to their favor. Weapon systems aren't working. There's all sorts.
They're beaming right onto the ship.
Well, even before they beam on the ship, it's like, get the fuck out of there. Like, you've got no reason to stick around. And that made me wonder on a bigger level. There's a lot of fights that Voyager gets in that it doesn't really need to be there for. Like Janeway standing there kind of stroking her chin like, all right, well, if they want to fight, let's give them a fight. Like, no, fuck that. You've got no vested interest in this solar system. You're not protecting anybody. You've got a superior attacking force. Just warp the fuck out of there, man. Don't stick around and get your ass beat. But that's what they do. And like you said, the aliens start transporting directly through the shields, and they got their space guns, and they hold everybody up, and Tuvok goes to pull out a phaser from behind the console and shoot one of the Napoleon dynamites, and it just beeps. And it's like, guys, you're obviously still in a fucking dream. Like, someone clue in that when you're fighting with the ultimate psychic dream Freddy Krueger force, like, if things don't seem real, if things don't seem like they could possibly be going so bad, maybe, just maybe, you're still stuck in the game.
So they all get rounded up and brought to the cargo bay by the invading Napoleon dynamites, and like, they do some like stereotypical let's try and escape from this imprisonment stuff where like Seven and Harry are going to start a fight with each other, and then, distract all the guards, and then Chakotay and B'Elanna are going to like pop open a console and like get them, jailbreak them. But that's when Dream Warrior Chakotay sees the moon.
He looks at B'Elanna, figures out he's still in the Matrix, taps his wrist. Oh, actually, no, the guys like pop up behind him because now they know that he knows, and they try to like grab him before he can triple tap himself out of there. But he pulls it off, and he wakes back up in med bay, and the doctor greets him and informs him that he has in fact been passed the fuck out for the past 39 hours, and the rest of the crew, despite all of the cocaine he has been distributing, has all fallen asleep, and now they're all knocked out. And the first question I had is 39 hours. Where is all the pee and poop? I didn't see a catheter, man. I didn't see a bedpan.
It should just be shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Just everyone's pants are soiled. It's like stained. It should be nasty.
Yeah.
It should be nasty. When everyone wakes up out of this, they should be like, just... Ugh.
Computer, put full power to the environmental systems. Get these vents going to full. Purge it all out into space.
Maybe like in the 24th century, everyone has like perfect body control.
Sure, why not?
They're like camels. They only have to pee every 48 hours. That's why you never see bathrooms.
Hey, empirical evidence that the bathrooms aren't there because they don't need them. That replicated food just they farted out. That's all. Just toot it right out.
They just use all of the energy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is some genetic modification. It'll be good.
Here's the worst part of the episode, because the episode explains to you, the viewer, in case you're stupid and you don't see exactly what's going on already, right? In case your grandma or whoever they think they're writing these Star Trek episodes for, which is clearly not sci-fi fans. The Doctor and Chakotay are like, fuck, we're still in the dream. And it's a shared concept. They even go say, like, here's Janeway's brainwaves, and here's Harry Kim's brainwaves, and here's Seven of Nine's brainwaves, and they're all the exact same chart when you overlay it, because these guys are all in a shared unconsciousness. They're trapped in the Matrix. Everybody's having a same dream, and Chakotay, everybody you saw in there, that's all their real consciousness and a shared consciousness. And we now know it. We as an audience understand exactly what's going on. There's graphs, there's learning aids. The Doctor and Chakotay have informed us of all of this. So they start getting to work on how they're going to fix this. Then we cut back into the Matrix. And everybody's like, how did Chakotay just disappear? He said he was in the dream and tapped his arm and he disappeared. But how could he disappear? Because if this was his dream... And we go through like this 3-minute sequence where we have to rediscover all over again what's going on here. And I'm like, this is... one of these scenes is all we needed. It could have been this scene. It could have been the Doctor scene.
But not both. It does not. We don't need both of
back
these.
To back. And also the Janeway crew Matrix scene makes them all look so fucking stupid that nobody can wrap their head around this until Seven of Nine's like, oh, here, let me give you a metaphor of the way the Borg work. And everybody's like, oh, now I get it. Like,
you're dealing with dream aliens. Does not it stand to reason that they would have special dream powers to put people in a collective dream?
There's two things you should know about in the Delta Quadrant by now, Voyager. One is crazy, powerful, psychic bad guys, because you run into those once every 3 episodes. And 2, getting stuck in jail. So what's so hard to understand about dream jail? Okay? Dream jail. That's all it is.
Fucking got him.
Yeah. Oh, why didn't you say dream jail? Okay. You were talking about the Borg. All right. Yeah.
Tom, time to grind up some more jail skills. This is a new challenge for you.
We shouldn't have sent... There was no reason to send Chakotay. Chakotay can't help us. We should have sent Tom. Yeah. A real jail warrior.
Ultimately, Chakotay takes the ship to the planet where the aliens are sleeping in the real world. It's the stupidest fucking thing. The idea that this entire species are all laid out apparently on these fucking slabs of rock.
Not slabs of rock. It's the fucking floor. They're laying on the floor an inch apart from each other. Chakotay beams down to the surface because his idea is like, I'm just going to go there and do something and wake everybody up, which is a legit plan on his end. But yeah, he walks into this cave and they give you this map painting, and there's just thousands of dudes laying in the same room. And my question is, why are these guys wearing? They're wearing clothes. They're wearing fancy clothes. How can a species that exists solely in a dreamlike state, eat or whatever? Maybe they're psychic vampires. Maybe that's what's missing from all this. Isn't that they're just like an abused species that's like trying to like protect themselves, but they're psychic vampires? Like, sure, now it's a better episode. There's a real threat here. But also, they've got like nice textiles and also some super fancy ass fucking psionic energy booster doodad. That's like,
yeah, I can't emphasize enough. This cave has no sign of technology in it. It's just all the aliens laying out an inch apart, as you mentioned, and then they have these perfectly tailored clothes and super science machinery, like just this one piece right next to them. That's jail fucking Voyager. It's stupid because there's no explanation of how these guys could possibly work this way. Like at all. There's not like a line. You mentioned the psychic vampire idea. Like somehow that's how they're sustaining themselves. That would be an explanation,
yeah,
right? Like, and make the little technological doodad really ancient looking,
sure,
right? Like it's something that was built a long time ago and it's been running for a long time.
Or it's magic,
whatever.
which
like,
I guess magic doesn't exist in this world. Stolen tech.
Point is, there is a way to do this episode the way it is done and explain these guys in a way that is enough that you could be like, suspension of disbelief is in. We're good. I buy this. Let's go.
You know what?
Instead, they're like, yeah, just lay it out on the floor. This is fine. They're all
Let me make this really cool. Once they were a happy native race of just psychic, really good psychic dudes, and then a bad guy race came along and enslaved them and weaponized them and put these psionic multipliers in so they could like long range attack people, and then they overthrew their oppressors and just wanted to be left alone and got really xenophobic and just preemptively attacked other people because they never wanted to be enslaved again. Great. Indigenous species on its own, just laying in a fucking cave with nice clothes and big tech. Stupid. Also, if they're doing this to anybody who passes through the so here's the game that these guys run, right? They attack people's dreams. They fool them into coming to what they say is, hey, leave our space. People are like, we leave your space. And they're like, psych, we brought you back to our homeworld where you're really close now and we can just get a stranglehold on you. Credit where credit is due. This is the first time in any Star Trek scenario, I believe, where any sci-fi scenario maybe, where dying in the dream world does not mean you die in the real world. That's always the rule.
Right.
That's space, juggalo, prison, and everything else.
Yep.
Which is another time. I'm going to count that as a dream. Yes, you've encountered this before. Damn it.
That's true.
Star.
There was
shared consciousness.
Yes.
Hell. You know what's going on, goddammit.
How did we forget that Juggalo tech was the bridge?
Juggalo tech could have also saved them from this too. Ugh. Anyway, so okay, so their game is like you trick people into going where they think the exit is, and that's really right next to the planet. Now you've got overwhelming psychic control because of proximity. And then what? You're a bunch of dudes laying in the fucking cave. You don't have transporters. Where are all the other ships? There should have been like a junkyard of ships encircling this planet. That would have been cool as fuck. All of the other victims of these space vampires or whatever the fuck the reason for them bringing people in. But instead, it's just a planet that's completely barren of anything. No signs of any of the other people that they've hoodwinked on this. Stupid. Chakotay's like, all right, well, I can't stop this psychic multiplier because it's in a force field that my mega weapon phaser can't seem to handle, and I don't even ask the doctor, who, if ever there's a time to have the doctor on an away team mission, right? Because they're the only two people who are awake on the ship. Why would you not? And the threat is, Chakotay, if you go to the surface of this planet where like the psychic danger is the highest, where you're going to pass out, the doctor's like, here's a hypo spray and it's got some super cocaine in it,
super duper cocaine,
and it'll zap you right back awake. And he's like, okay, but you need to be careful. Let's keep an open comm line so I can monitor you and like wake you up by voice if needed. Dude, you got the fucking portable transmitter. Like, why don't you go down to the surface and unfuck this?
Yeah. Why the fuck is the doctor not the person to go
Or
down
both
there?
of
Like,
them.
oh, hey.
Both of them.
Well, I understand like one of them being on the ship so that they can like run the ship away or something or do something different. But if you're going to send someone down to the psychic danger zone where the psychicness is the worst, shouldn't you send the person that you know is not going to be affected by it at all? You know, the computer construct? No, instead they send the Dream Warrior because of course they do. He goes down, he decides that he isn't going to give himself the super cocaine and he's just going to like give one of the random flunkies there the super cocaine to wake up like one of them because that's the ticket here, right? Like he needs them to deactivate the psychic machine. And it like bamps one of the guys out of the dream. And eventually, though, Chakotay just like passes back out and winds up back in the dream.
So he wakes up a rando, holds him at gunpoint. It's like, you show me how to shut this thing off, or I'm going to kill everybody in this room. Or else, basically. And the guy's just like looking at him like, look, buddy, I don't know what's going on here. My name's Jerry, and I'm a shoe salesman or whatever. Like, I don't know how to work that crazy thing over there. I'm not the guy in charge. It's like kidnapping an Earth guy and being like, you better turn off all the power at the local nuclear power plant. Like, dude, I
don't know how to
I'm
do
just the
that.
guy with the Star Trek podcast. I don't know anything about that. Please quit brandishing your pistol at me. But then, yeah, he falls asleep and he gets forced in. Main Napoleon Dynamite's like, oh, look, I have all you now. Main Napoleon Dynamite has really outed himself and the rest of this race as being some real dickheads. Like, their game is to, like we said, lure people to this planet. You can't be killed in the dream world. So what they do is just basically tie him up in dream jail so long that everybody just starves to death and rots away, which is a real shit thing to do. And that's, again, why I think it would have been cool to see, like, a junkyard, a space graveyard of ships and, like, dead, mummified people floating around in them. And Chakotay goes, well, here's the deal. I told the hologram up on Voyager that if I don't return, to just shoot a bunch of photon torpedoes down to my location. It'll kill me, but it'll kill everybody in this cave, and that's how we'll free my crew, is by committing genocide against all of you guys, which seems like super un-Starfleet thing to do. And going back to the doctor thing, like, the real obstacle here is the time crunch. You need to destroy the psychic emitter. It's going to take time. You don't have time. The quick and dirty way is just photon torpedo. But had it been the doctor that beamed down, who knows how much time he could have had to free that up and, not threatened.
They left themselves so little time to wrap up this episode that they don't actually like show the response of the alien or anything else about the alien after the threat is made.
He just makes the Napoleon Dynamite like, ugh.
Yeah, he just looks nervous for a second, and then there's Captain's log. Hey, now that we're free of our dream prison, we've got a new problem. Everyone's got insomnia, and they conclude the episode on a comedy beat of basically everybody waking up and trying to like occupy their time doing something else because they don't want to go to sleep, which I thought was like a funny reference for us of the space horror thing, right? So
yes.
Like this is clear indication that the psychic drugs that they use, the Starfleet antidepressants are powerful, that they all have this horrific experience and they're all just like yucking it up as they're dealing with their horrific PTSD of, almost dying in their sleep from a random bunch of dream thieves.
What if Chakotay had walked into that cave, figured out he couldn't bring down the dream multiplier, and then just turned the phaser on like wide dispersal and just started like mass stunning everybody? Like, you don't need to give people hypo sprays to wake them up. You just hit him with a little bit of skin burning, and that would have been a real cheeky way to resolve that threat. I also want to point out here, his order to the doctor was, if you don't hear from me in 5 minutes, photon torpedo the surface. And the doctor's like, okay, there is no safety protocols on this doctor now. Like, do no harm, the robotic rules and all that stuff. Firebomb the surface, and kill all the civilians. We don't know
Dude.
anything about these guys. We don't know if it's a goofy government regime and like an oppressed people. Who knows what the fucking deal is? If you don't hear from me in 5 minutes, start shooting fucking nukes at the surface, and consequences be damned. And the doctor's like, okay.
I mean, this is the guy who set up a known murderer and terrorist to go through the ship one by one, killing the shit out of the Kazon that had invaded it
because
as
he
part
didn't
of a
think
clandestine operation.
Because he didn't think he could do any harm himself. Clearly, the Doctor is capable of doing harm. All the other What If episodes we've seen where like Janeway dies a million times and the Doctor murders him and all that other stuff. Like ever since, was it Dark Projections, where the Jekyll and Hyde episode?
I don't know what that one was called, but I remember the episode. He had the werewolf
with the
teeth.
space truckers. Yeah, I think that really marks the end of like the do no harm Doctor, and since then we've got it changed. Like, yeah, I'll bombard the surface from orbit. I'll nuke it from orbit. Chakotay, sure, it's the only way to be sure.
It is the only way to be sure. I mean,
I feel like there's some other crap in here we skipped over that was a pretty big deal, but it's not.
I don't think we did. I don't think anything in this episode was a big deal. I think it was all pretty bad. It was a circumstance where even the premise just was stupid. It was they used Chakotay like he had religious superpowers, which is like some shit we've been talking about for the entire time we've done the show. Is dumb as hell. Here it is, dragged back into the light one more time, and you know we're all poorer for it. So, what are we watching next week, Peter?
Moving on from here, I want to say for the record, I don't think this was a terrible episode, and it's because we've had such bad stuff in the rest of the season. Like, I think I would probably give this a C+, all things considered. Like, it wasn't boring. I don't feel like it was a waste of time. There's some peripheral stuff that's not too bad. The Tom and B'Elanna stuff didn't make me want to shoot myself in the head.
Yeah, it was no like Day of Honor.
Yes.
It was no Concerning Flight. It was no.
I'm gonna have to put Concerning Flight on my wall of shame, aren't I?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's definitely like not as bad as some of the things that we've seen. But I mean, was this better than like the episode when they faced the serial killer hologram? I don't think it was. I think that episode was better.
I like that episode.
Yeah. Is it better than Nemesis? I would put it like kind of on this a little below it personally. I felt like Nemesis was probably a better episode. Mind you, I liked the way they talked, which probably upgrades it for me. You know,
what if we did get co-op day here? If he was like, we are the aggressive force. I do need to join them. I'm going to be a man of my dreams after all. All right. Coming from here, we're going to go on to season 4, episode 14, Message in a Bottle. This is a moment I've been dreading, Joe.
Really?
Because I see in the picture the Doctor, and then I see fucking Andy Dick.
Yes! Andy fucking Dick! Dude.
How? Man, you know, next gen, I can't speak to DS9, but like, you never saw him fucking jam the Harlem Globetrotters into the original series. Maybe they were in the animated series. I don't know about that, but like, they weren't like bringing Johnny Carson on or whatever the fuck Andy Dick's equivalent would have been, a like 70s B-list. But there he is, the second fucking 90s garbage person they've put in right after Sarah Silverman.
Okay, so Sarah Silverman was not famous, remember?
Fair enough. Fair point.
So it's a little different. And this was in the heyday of news radio. So
Jerry Ryan's big boobs were not enough to pull the season 4 ratings out of the trash. They had to start bringing in this fucking garbage cat. Using an alien communications net, Voyager sends the Doctor to the Federation ship USS Prometheus, only to find out it has been taken by Romulans.
So obviously the description spoils a little bit, but this is an incredibly important episode to Voyager's continuity. So this episode is where the show kind of pivots towards actually having like an ending,
a meta plot.
Yes, or like here is how they're finally going to get home. Like we're going to finally set up something to work towards for them to get home. This is it. This is the moment.
Half of the stuff on this page sounds cool. Alien Communications Net, Federation ship, USS Prometheus. Cool. Romulans, Andy Dick. No.
Like,
Not
this also brings a key Voyager antagonist, a recurring antagonist race into the mix.
Is it a race of cloned Seskas?
Definitely not.
Pass.
But
Hard pass.
But yeah, this is a critical episode, and as you've seen, it has clearly the most random person to do a guest spot.
The most
on Star Trek
undeserving
Voyager.
piece of human garbage.
I mean, Voyager does have just the weirdest, like you said, it has the weirdest guest stars. It has John Rhys Davies,
Yeah, but John Rhys Davies is awesome. This is fucking Andy Dick. I'd rather...
It has The Rock later.
I was going to say I'd rather have Tom Green, but like I legit find Tom Green funny, so that's not as shocking as it should have been. But
Tom Green would have been amazing on Star Trek.
Yeah.
You know what another...
Hey, you know what, Discovery? Any Discovery showrunners, if you're listening out there...
Find Tom Green! I'll watch that episode.
Get him in a short Trek.
Although, yeah, did you see the...
H. John Benjamin's got one, right? I haven't... It's some of the Tribbles.
They straight up made an episode of fucking Orville as a short Trek. That's what they did. They're like,
good.
You know
because
what?
You know
People
what?
love Orville. Let's just do one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, come on. Like, they're finally just like, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
We want ratings. Please give it to us. We don't have Anson Mount this next season. We're going to have to do something to keep people vested. All right, man. Yeah, I think that's all I've got to say.
Indeed. So until next time, thank you for listening to Future Please, Hateful Voyage for the Delta Quadrant. See you next week.